Hello and welcome to another Win Daily Sports Show. My name is Michael Raziel. I got my man Ghost here with me, and we are breaking down the recent NBA flurry of moves. Ghost, how excited are you to talk more NBA?
Fired up, bro. Season's coming very, very quickly here. Absolutely love it. Crazy offseason that we've had so far. By far the most entertaining offseason of all the major sports.
Yeah, so far, I mean, baseball, you can kind of throw that one out. Nobody actually watches hockey, and the NFL is the NFL. Unless a quarterback moves, it doesn't really matter that much. So that's why we love the NBA. We love the offseason. And yes, the season is right around the corner, December 22nd. So everybody get started. We will be having your betting, your daily fantasy, your season-long fantasy, any of that you need. You can get it here with Win Daily Sports on the HNB channel, but also make sure to subscribe to our channel as well, Win Daily Sports, as well as some of our social feeds at Win Daily Sports. So we are here to help get you there. If you can please smash that like button, make sure you're giving us a subscribe if you have not already. What the hell are you doing? Honestly, we don't know. And get that chat fired up. Ghost and I are going to be here for 25 minutes with you. As we always say, chat's our favorite part. So make sure to ask us questions. If you got anything, we're going to be going over some of the bigger moves, some of the funnier moves, and we're going to laugh at Michael Jordan a little bit. We're definitely going to laugh at Michael Jordan a little bit, but let's start a little out of the box start. Let's start with the Atlanta Hawks. We know what they did in the draft the last couple years. They've built a nice young core, as we talked about. They're not really here to play defense, Ghost. What's the point of playing defense? We're here to play offense. We're here to have some fun. We're here to enjoy ourselves. And I think that's what the Atlanta Hawks are poised to do. You said it on the previous live streams, the previous episodes, but now we have a couple more signings. We have Bogdan, I think your favorite Bogdanovich or your favorite Bogdan. There's too many of them to count at this point. I'm pretty sure he's one of your favorites. He signed with the Hawks. I think they still have till midnight tonight. The Kings do to match, but I don't think they're going to do it. 4 for 72. They got Rajon Rondo at 2 for 15, and they brought over Danilo Gallinari 3 for 61. Everybody's getting paid. Ghost, talk to me a little bit. How do these three signings, what do they do for the Hawks, and what does that do? Are they going to make the playoffs finally? I think Trae Young in the playoffs, I'll watch him drop 40-foot shots all day. I'm cool with that.
I would love to see it. I mean, are they going to finish in the top 6? Likely not, barring any major injuries to, teams like the Celtics, my Raptors, Milwaukee's,
the Nets.
Miami. The Nets are going to be competitive as well. Boston's still out there, right? So top 6 is pretty much locked up. It's more so just the way that it ends up playing out, in my opinion. But I could definitely see them squeezing into that 7 or 8 seed, especially out there in the East. I'm here for the Trae Young 30-point games and that high-flying offense. So absolutely love to see it. The biggest impact signing here for me, maybe an honorable mention to Bogdan if Sacramento doesn't end up matching that, but it's got to be Chris Dunn. I am shocked that Chicago did not end up matching this. Getting a guy that, an underrated two-way player. Chicago was actually, flirting him with some minutes on the wing at one point, a guy that came out as a point guard, and he's going to play some valuable minutes for them behind guys like Kevin Huerter and Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter. So add some much-needed depth to that team, and these guys are absolutely loaded. So I absolutely can't wait to see it.
I think it's going to be fun, right? I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, we know what Trae Young is capable of doing. Man, a little Freudian slip there from myself. Good for you, Trae Young. Obviously, John Collins, I'm a big Duke boy, but I always kind of thought Cam Reddish sucks. So we'll just see kind of what happens with him. Hopefully he can figure some stuff out in the NBA. Reason he was a very highly touted prospect is because he's pretty damn good. So hopefully he can figure it out. But adding 3 guys at 4, as you said, honorable mention with Chris Dunn. I mean, that's some depth right there. And they're all going to play some pretty good minutes. I mean, I assume Bogdan is going to be a starter. I assume Gallinari is going to be a starter. So I'm really curious kind of to see how, granted, does starting matter? It's more of an ego thing. It's who's ending the game, who's playing the most minutes. All these guys are getting paid. It doesn't matter how many minutes they play. So really curious to see what happens there. And of course, if you guys are curious as well, make sure to hop over to windailysports.com. We're actually running our Black Friday deal right now. So you can get everything on windailysports.com, 50% off, whether that's our betting membership, our DFS and season-long membership. grab that and let Ghost win you a boatload of money, because that's all this guy does. Created a model, wins a lot of money. We have a lot of fun with it, and we appreciate the hell out of him there. Anything else on the Hawks? I think it's pretty solid. I'm kind of excited to see, what their season total is, because that might be a fun one to bet. Maybe the public pushes that up and we can take the under, or maybe people don't believe in Chris Dunn as much as you do.
Yeah, I mean, without getting too much into it, we have a lot to cover in 20 to 25 minutes, but I'm really curious to see what they end up doing with that front court, if they end up running John Collins at the 5 and Gallinari at the 4, and end up playing a little bit smaller and letting Trae Young doing his thing. And especially now that they have a surprising amount of guard depth back there with Rondo and Chris Dunn and Reddish and Hunter and all these guys. So really curious to see how this rotation plays out. They could line up against pretty much anybody when we're talking strictly on paper, whether we're going big with a guy like Clint Capella or we're going smaller with John Collins at the 5 and Gallinari slotting in at the 4 there. So
totally can't wait to see it. Totally forgot about Clint Capella. Haven't seen that guy play basketball in like 2 years at this point. So hopefully he can figure it out. I think, what was it? It was like last February when he got traded, right? Yeah. So it's going to be almost 2 years since that guy plays basketball, if not more. So pretty crazy. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little Michael Jordan slander here. I don't know what this guy does. I don't know why he does it, but he may have been the only person on planet Earth that thought Gordon Hayward deserved 4 years and $120 million. We know that Charlotte did try to sign Gordon Hayward, if I'm not mistaken, when he was still with the Jazz. The Jazz then matched the offer sheet. They kept him there for a couple more years before he dipped and went to Boston. Goes to Boston. As we know the story, he's been hurt essentially the entire time he was there. Last year he was decent, but they really didn't need him. Boston kind of just got away with one. I heard there was a lot of rumors him to Indiana, which was interesting. But hey, if Michael Jordan calls you up and says, hey, dude, we'll give you, 4 years and $120 million, you should probably take it. So talk to me. I mean, give me some sort of positive with this. I mean, outside of Gordon Hayward's bank account and his daughters and his wife, like, what are we doing here? Yeah, and his agent. Thank you to him as well. What the hell are we doing here, Ghost?
I mean, I feel like this is people talk about in life, you got to be at the right place at the right time. I feel like this is exactly that, if I could sum it up. This is a, somewhat weak free agency class. There's no, everyone knows Anthony Davis is pretty much going to go back to LA. That's a foregone conclusion. And there was no really really big star. We're not talking about.
Come on. All right.
But you know what I mean? Like there's no KD, there's no Harden, there's none of these guys that are up for grabs where there's 15 to 20 teams lining up for their services and making their pitches, right? So this is a guy that in this free agency class, he is a big name, and Charlotte needs exactly that, and end up bringing a veteran guy in there with Melo running point. And I'm hearing we were on the right track there. We did end up saying, you know what, it looks like Terry Rozier is likely going to get shipped out of town with Melo running point back there with Devontae Graham. I'm hearing Terry Rozier is likely on the way out. So we might have predicted that one last week. So curious to see what the Charlotte team looks like. I mean, he's a guy that's going to bring fans into the arena again. No matter how many we're allowed, if we're allowed at all to have fans in NBA arenas, he's a guy that's going to pack them. He's going to sell jerseys and veteran presence in that locker room for guys like Melo and Devontae Graham.
Ghost.
Just being
you gotta stop calling him Melo. You can't keep doing that to me, man. He's not Melo. He's not Melo.
He's not the real Melo. That's for sure. He's not the real Melo. That's right. I saw this circulating on Twitter. People end up posting a picture. They're like, when you hear Melo, who do you think of? Who please take that down. Whoever.
Yes.
Don't.
Yes.
It's obviously. I don't know who ended up creating that it's not even a meme, but who ended up creating that scenario. If you're out there listening, please take that down.
Please.
That's such disrespect to a legend. So please take that down.
A legend. Marshmallow, of course. No, I think it's insane. I mean, it would be kind of cool. I'm curious to see if they can get what they can get for Terry Rozier. Like, what does that look like? Because I think that's going to be something. Obviously, he's making a bunch of money. If you can get, 40-something million off your books the next 2 years. Now, I know it's not quite a 1-to-1, but it definitely helps out with this Gordon Hayward contract. But how angry are the Charlotte Hornets? I mean, I feel like they just make bad contract after bad contract after bad contract, and we see it just over and over again, right? Like, I don't understand what the hell they're doing, and I assume this is going to be another one in a couple years. Be like, yeah, Gordon Hayward's been solid. That's all we're gonna get. That's it. Gordon Hayward's been solid. I mean, he hasn't been worth $30 million over a year for 4 years, but yeah, he's been solid. I feel like that's like the best case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what I was getting at before, where it's, you end up saying, "Hey, our hand is forced. We need to make a move. We have to require somebody."
Why?
But that's exactly it, right? A lot of these front offices don't necessarily practice the kind of patience that a guy like Sam Presti has, where this guy has 27 draft picks in the next 2 drafts, right? Like it's not necessarily a whole trust the process kind of situation, even though the process clearly isn't working out. But I mean, it's not that kind of scenario where people end up saying, hey, 3 years down the line, maybe we can lure a big star out. Like let's say, for example, a couple of years back, people were not looking at this 2020 class saying, hey, maybe we can get Jason Tatum out of Boston. Like, I don't really think a lot of people end up looking, I don't even want to say that far because it's only a couple of years, but just the way that the NBA is made out, it's not like other sports where you get in baseball, you get some of these 10 to 13 year contracts. In hockey, you end up seeing it a lot less now with the new CBA, where the longest contract is 8 years. But, you had Alexander Ovechkin's contract that was 13 years. You had in other sports, Kovalchuk, and if we don't want to go even further back, like guys like DiPietro and stuff. But I mean, you have these other sports where these contracts are more than a decade long. NBA is not really like that. I mean, you're ended up seeing now where a lot of people are like, hey, why didn't Anthony Davis sign yet? And now they're saying, well, if Giannis doesn't sign his Supermax, AD is going to sign a 1-and-1, opt out again next year, and try and lure Giannis over to LA. So that's the kind of league that the NBA is right now, where I don't want to say that there's no loyalty to a franchise, but it's almost like a two-way street where there's no loyalty to a player either, in the sense that, example, Warriors ended up acquiring Andrew Wiggins. Now you're hearing Andrew Wiggins, 2nd overall pick, guys like Bradley Beal on the move, maybe Devin Booker's on the move. Let's go get Giannis. Let's go. It's constantly like that in the NBA, where the flurry of action is second to none. So
it really is. And the NBA owners kind of did it to themselves, because they got rid of these very long-term contracts in favor of, hey, we could do a 5-year max contract. We can do, which we'll get to all of those towards the end of the show. You can do those 5-year super maxes. We see John Wall making $50 million a year. Dude hasn't played basketball in like 4 years. Granted, it's not his fault. He hasn't been playing basketball. I think he like kind of tore his ACL, then he popped his Achilles, and like walking down the stairs, guys, socks and hardwood floor stairs, they don't mix. You got to figure that out. Come on, team. Come on. But it's crazy to me. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, because the worst part about it is, yes, there's no loyalty from the front offices to these players. So I have no problem with players being empowered and doing whatever and going wherever. It just sucks for the fans, right? Like, especially those small market teams, like, what are those fans supposed to do? Everyone kind of knows Giannis is most likely going to be gone. And not only is Giannis going to be gone, they brought in Drew Holiday, so they traded away a bunch of draft picks. So they're going to suck and not get their draft picks for the next like 4 or 5 years. And it's going to be really unfortunate. But am I going to sit here and say, Giannis, you should definitely stay in Milwaukee because Brad really wants you to stay there? Fuck no. Dude, go play in LA or Miami. Go play in one of these places. It's the winter. I'm not going to tell anybody to stay in Milwaukee in the winter. It's ridiculous. So it's just unfortunate that, hey, he's looking out for himself, which I respect. It's just the fans that get caught in the middle of all this shit.
But that's exactly it when we're talking about a team like Charlotte, right? I mean, picture yourself as a marquee NBA free agent. I guarantee you Charlotte is not, like, even if the team is one of, if not the best team in the league at the time, just the fact that it's not Miami, it's not LA, it's not New York, it's not any of these big cities, right? So that's where these small market teams, even if the quote unquote prized possession of that free agency class is a guy like Gordon Hayward, you're going to do whatever you can to get a guy like Gordon Hayward, because I mean, as much as we don't necessarily like that contract for him, especially in the longer term, I don't want to say long term because it's only 4 years, but still in the longer term, meaning like the second half of the deal might come back to bite them. But at the same time, in this very moment, is Gordon Hayward going to help them win games? Yeah, absolutely. There's no denying it, right? Is he going to help grow, their young backcourt tandem in Graham and LaMelo Ball? Yeah, absolutely. So that's where you end up being a small market team like Charlotte, and you're like, you know what? We have to make a move. And if it's Gordon Hayward, it's Gordon Hayward. You got to do what you got to do.
Got to do what you got to do. Shout out to Michael Jordan. Always gunning for that 8th seed, and I don't think he really ever gets it. So, hopefully they figure it out one of these days. And I don't know. I hear there's a lot of traffic in Charlotte. That's literally the only thing I know about it. So hopefully they can figure it out. Moving on, let's move to the Battle of LA. Had some fun contracts over here. So we have, and I'm just gonna mention a couple of the ones that are important. Your boy, Serge Ibaka, did end up leaving. He went to the Clippers. Your other boy, Marc Gasol, we thought he was going to go play in Spain, but no, he's chasing rings. 2 years, $5 million with the Lakers. We then have Montrezl Harrell leave the Clippers to go across the hall to the Lakers, 2 years, 19. And Marcus Morris decided to re-sign for 4 for 64, which, whoa, good for him and his agent. And then we had Markieff Morris re-signed with the Lakers also, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of stuff moving around, some different things. Obviously, there were some trades. We kind of noted Dennis Schroeder, obviously, is pretty important. So I think Kentavious Caldwell-Pope did re-sign as well. So some important things. But Anthony Davis to the Bulls? I don't know. We'll see. Talk to me a little bit about the Battle of LA. Who do you think kind of won? There's some swapping. There's some kind of, little posturing going on. How do you feel about the Lakers and the Clippers now moving forward? And essentially what we think is, now, again, with Klay Thompson being out, much more of a two-team race over there in the Western Conference.
Even though it wasn't a signing, even if I include Luke Kennard to the Clippers, I still give the edge to the Lakers. Signing Marcus Morris, 4 years, $64 million, and letting Montrezl Harrell walk across the hall in the same building and go play for the Lakers. You love to see it.
You love to see it, Bob.
You gotta love to see it when you end up signing Marcus Morris, 4 years, $64 million. Oh my gosh. I mean, look, I don't know what happened. Was there a falling out between Montrezl Harrell? He publicly said, hey, the Lakers wanted me more than the Clippers did. Is that actually true? We don't know. That it's the NBA, right? I mean, we hear stuff like this all the time. Clippers are going to end up firing back. He's going to fire back. It's going to be something on social media. Patrick Beverley's going to say something stupid on Twitter. Damian Lillard's going to chime in. So you know what I mean? Like it's always like that, right? So that's the beauty of this league. Never a dull moment, right? So, but again, who knows what happened there with Montrezl Harrell? I feel like there's more to the story that we don't have, because letting him walk away for what quote me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's 2 years, 19 mil.
Yep. Same as Ibaka. Yeah, something like that.
You let go of Montrezl Harrell for 2 years, 19 million, and then end up signing Marcus Morris for 4 years, 64. Something doesn't add up there for me. I'll play devil's advocate in the sense that, Harrell did get exposed throughout the bubble, especially on the pick and roll. Man, this guy, their defensive possession per 100 numbers were absolutely terrible with him on the floor. But keep in mind, he was in and out of the bubble, possibly had COVID, maybe didn't have COVID, then he possibly did have COVID again, so I don't know if he was actually 100%. I'm looking at, the bigger scope of work of what he did in LA. That's a big loss for them. And I don't know, bringing in, I don't know. I really don't like it. Serge Ibaka is not what he used to be. You even saw him in the past season with the Raptors, that he was not necessarily, the big tower inside the paint there with Marc Gasol on the defensive end. Never really was much of an offensive threat. He could kick out to the three and end up hitting it, but he's not going to be that go-to guy. So really curious to end up seeing what happens there on the Clippers side. But shout out to the Lakers doing whatever they have to do. I absolutely love these moves, and LeBron's doing Bron things. That's what it comes down to.
He carries weight, man. As we were just talking about before, I just do want to mention our good friend TPJ. He says Trez soured on the locker room, and the front office soured on him. Yeah. That is literal insider information. The dudes over here at HNB, they have press passes and they cover the Clippers. So I will take his word for it, because I think he knows what he's talking about. And that's not too surprising. I mean, Kawhi Leonard kind of comes off as kind of a conceited douche, and playoff P, as we saw, he's a tiny boy. There's nothing wrong with that. But it just did not work. Does not surprise me. Obviously, Doc Rivers is gone, so there was a lot of stuff. Saw it firsthand. Nothing official. I apologize. Not reporting anything.
Bringing the heat.
I'm gonna put that up on the screen. I apologize, Mr. TPJ. It's nothing official. Just saw it firsthand. So I appreciate you there, and I definitely do not want to misquote. I'm not really into this journalism thing, but I know he is, and I think that's pretty important. So what do you got?
He's 100% right. I mean, obviously I'm nowhere as near close to the Clippers as TPJ is, but just seeing it out there, I mean, there are even rumors saying, Kawhi and PG are getting preferential treatment. Doc Rivers, pretty much pampers these guys and load management this and load management that. I mean, especially as another player where you end up saying like, hey, why are these guys getting preferential treatment? At the end of the day, are they the stars of the team? Yeah, everyone knows it. But even at that point, people were saying, and I could a few names come to mind now that one of them's out. I don't even want to say out of the city. He's just across the hall. But, one of them's out of the franchise where they're saying, hey, I'm actually a better player than Paul George. And he's getting preferential treatment, right? So, and all of a sudden, a rumor like that kind of quickly gets linked to a guy like Montrezl Harrell. Apparently, Lou Will kind of had some beef there too, but Lou Will's a veteran. Ain't nobody got time for that. But Trez seemed like he just didn't really fit there anymore at that point, and it was more so internally than on the court. But even on the court, his defense, you can make the case that his defensive struggles were just not going to get them to a championship.
And now with Trez not having to play the same position, obviously, with Anthony Davis potentially being on the floor, with some of the other big men that they signed and brought over, Marc Gasol obviously being on the floor. I feel like there's someone else I'm missing that they signed in terms of big men. But talk to me a little bit about that. How do you feel that he will actually fit with the Lakers? And while the Clippers were a much smaller team and he would essentially be the biggest person on the court for them, now he's going to be huge, but he's going to be the second or third or potentially, maybe not the fourth. LeBron James's ego is bigger than him, but how do you feel he's actually going to fit in terms of play style?
I feel like he's going to have a very similar role to what he had with the Clippers in the sense that, he'll likely close out quarters whenever they take out AD. He'll still slot in at the 5 the large majority of the time, but when you're out there playing with guys like Markieff and, even Kyle Kuzma ends up getting some minutes at the 4. He largely ends up slotting in at 3, but when he does end up playing minutes at the 4, a guy like Trezor could kind of open up that space for him. So curious to see him run the pick and roll with multiple guys out there. He's going to be doing his thing on the offensive end. I don't really think they're going to task him with big time matchups or anything like that. That's what AD is there for. You can make the case that AD is defensive player of the year every single year, right? Kind of like LeBron is MVP every single year. So. AD is just a force on both ends of the court. So with Trez out there, even if Trez ends up playing the 5 and AD plays the 4 on the defensive end, you'll still likely see AD end up guarding the paint a bit more than Trez will. So whenever they end up playing teams that have stretch bigs or anything like that, that's where Trez could kind of end up getting out there. And he's a guy that's quick on his feet. So I could definitely see him fitting in well here. It's a good fit.
Yeah, I feel like LeBron will figure out a way to get him to fit. And we got the chat. Celtics 85. I have to assume this person is a Celtics fan. Ibaka was the best player on the Raptors during that series.
OG Anunoby like that.
Oh, OG
Anunoby was the best player.
Dude, he was awesome. He was awesome, man. He hit that shot. He did a bunch of stuff that series. That was fun. Oh, I love that. And what else we got? Trez was leaking locker room drama to LeBron. It was Kawhi. Yeah, I honestly would not be. Yeah, clutch snitch players. I do love it. I do love it. Thank you, chat. This is my favorite.
Rich Paul
part.
Keeps the boys together. Rich Paul does his thing. Bron does his thing. Bron doing Bron things.
They're making money, and that's the only thing that matters. All right, let's move on to the last little topic we have here. And it's actually a very big topic. It's a max topic. All of these dudes, all these babies, they're 21, 22 years old. All these guys, except Spidey, he's like, what? I feel like he's like 26 at this point. But all of these guys signing major max contracts. We have Donovan Mitchell, Bam Adebayo, Jason Tatum, De'Aaron Fox, Brandon Ingram, couple Duke boys. So I'm not angry about that. All these guys signing max contracts. And I know that's the way of the NBA, right? Like you kind of have to, like De'Aaron Fox, like what else are they going to do, right? Like I think Bam deserves it. I don't think that's a question. I think Donovan Mitchell, $195 million potential over 5 years is a lot of money. But I guess what else the hell are you supposed to do, right? Jason Tatum, I think that's an easy one. Brandon Ingram, I don't think he's worth potentially up to 195 million. Good for the Duke boys. I'm all for it. But talk to me, man. Talk to me about these 5. Who do you think deserved it? Who don't you think deserved it? And who do you think actually gives enough value to make these contracts worth it?
De'Aaron Fox, get paid, young fella.
Dude, I'm in.
This guy's explosive on the offensive end. I'm a big De'Aaron Fox fan. So,
and it's Sacramento, right? How many freaking free agents are they bringing over?
That's exactly it, right?
Sacramento? They kind of had to.
That's exactly what I was about to say with Brandon Ingram. You end up, if New Orleans doesn't give him the max, someone else will.
Yep.
Because I guarantee you the Knicks will. I guarantee you Charlotte will. I guarantee you any of these teams will. Probably even Washington would. You know what I mean? Like all these kind of smaller market teams, or it's not like New Orleans is the biggest market either. But again, it's more so that opportunity cost of, hey, if we don't want to pay Brandon Ingram, who are we going to replace him with? What are you going to do? Sign Gordon Hayward, 4 years, $120 million? You might as well give the max to a guy like Brandon Ingram and continue to let him flourish on what he built on last season. Last season, he was balling, right? So you got to respect what he did there. And that's exactly it. Pro athlete, any sport, everyone knows contract year, you got to show up because people remember what you did that last season. They're not going to say, oh, Brandon Ingram was kind of rough in 2018 when he was with the Lakers. No one's going to talk about that. They're going to say this guy won most improved player of the year in 2020. And he was absolutely nuts when Zion was out for pretty much every second game and even then some. Right. So that's what people are going to end up looking, and they're going to pay the man. So if you're in New Orleans, your hands are kind of tied in the sense that even if you don't want to, you have to. Because if you don't, someone else will. And I don't really think that there's a better, 1-for-1 swap at, even if it's a better contract. Talent-wise out there, Brandon Ingram is still a good basketball player. So is he worthy of the max? I don't know. I would personally say no. Based on last season alone, you can make an argument for yes. But again, when we're talking about, could he just end up, possibly due for some regression next season? Zion's going to be back fully healthy. He's going to gather a lot of the usage on the offensive end of the court. So that one I'm not too sure about. Only time will tell. Jason Tatum, get paid, young man. This guy's
that's easy.
That one's an easy one. Donovan Mitchell, you dropping 50 a game out there in the playoffs, single-handedly carrying that team. So all these guys deserve it. De'Aaron Fox is definitely a lock to deserve it as well. I think the one and only one that I thought, maybe you could say that, I don't want to say he doesn't deserve it, but the one that I was saying, maybe long-term they might regret this one would be Brandon Ingram. But you look at the larger scope of things, who are you going to replace him with? If you don't pay him, someone else will.
Exactly. And it's interesting to see all these guys. And again, I'm totally on board. Get paid. As we're already talking about, these organizations will throw you out as quickly as possible. So get as much money as you can. I am 100% for it. I'm just curious. I think, I'll be honest, don't watch enough Sacramento Kings where I am out here on, in New York. So it does make it difficult. We all saw, obviously, what Donovan Mitchell did. That was an absolute blast. He's a little bit older. So there's always that speculation of like, well, he didn't actually start playing basketball until he was like 18 years old or some of that bullshit. So he can get better. So I'm excited to see it. Bam Adebayo, everyone, once all these guys started signing, I saw a couple, I think it might've been Woj or someone like, Bam could get the max too. And then a day and a half later, obviously he signs his contract. I think they're all different, but just about all of them can escalate to about $195 million over 5 years. As you said, and we'll say it one more time, get paid, young man. Your family, your family's family, your family's family is going to be just fine moving forward. So
Sacramento has some interesting things going on there, Possibly. I mean, I was thinking about that earlier today. If they don't match Bogdan's offer sheet, what do they do with Buddy Hield? Because now, he was a guy that was very publicly disgruntled, clearly does not get along with Luke Walton. But the issue there was Bogdan was getting all the minutes over him. Bogdan's possibly gone now.
Most likely.
Is Luke Walton possibly out of town because of that? Because they want to keep Buddy Hield? Do they still ship Buddy Hield out of town? And they could have one of, if not the fastest backcourts in the NBA if they run Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox out there at the same time. That would be nuts. I'm here for it. I was a big Tyrese Halliburton. I was big on him in the draft. I think he should have easily gone top 5. Slipping all the way to Sacramento at 12. Curious to see what they do there in that backcourt now.
That should be fun. Marvin Bagley, he hasn't really shown all of his stuff. He's been kind of hurt. They lost Harry Giles, also a Duke guy. As you can tell, I pay a little bit more attention to the Duke guys. I think he's gone now. I don't remember where he went, but he went and signed like a 1-year, $10 million deal. So, dude, get paid. So it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I'm curious to see what happens. And I don't know. I feel like the Kings will just always be the Kings and just be kind of middling for the rest of my life. That's just kind of like the Hornets. What are they really going to do? They're going to sign Gordon Hayward. They might make the A seed 1 year, and that's kind of it. They don't get the draft pick, so should be interesting, should be fun, and it always is a blast with you, Ghost Fan. Had a little bit of 30-minute show. We're going to be coming back to you, people. Don't worry. Ghost and I are going to be doing these once or twice a week here. And then once the season starts, you'll be seeing our faces constantly. And we're going to be making you a lot of money. And to save you a couple dollars with Black Friday, WinDailySports.com, hop over here, get some money, make some money with us. Everything on the site, 50% off for the Black Friday deal. If you grab a year-long membership, it's $180, 50 cents a day, less than 50 cents a day. I mean, I think Ghost is smart enough to make you more than 50 cents a day, especially over an entire year. So we are here for it. Ghost, where can everyone find you on the internet?
At DFS_Ghost over on Twitter, and of course in the Win Daily Sports Discord channel. Make sure you guys come and join. 7 days free.
7 days free. If you go to WinDailySports.com/chat, you can hang out with us there. You can find me at Michael Raziel1. You can find us at Win Daily Sports. And for Ghost, for myself, for the rest of the Win Daily Sports family, we appreciate you, and we hope you make it a very profitable 2020-2021 season of the NBA.